Welcome back to the Relationships Made Simple for Men podcast with me, Bryce Bauer. Today, I want to give you tools that you can use when you get into what you may perceive are unworkable situations. So, first, I'll give you some context. I often have men that come in to see me and they want to tell me a story about a fight, a conflict they've had with their partner. They give me the whole script. And I'll usually let them run on for a bit because they want to tell me the story. It's cathartic. I can validate them where appropriate, but at some point I got to jump in. And usually I bring it right back to the beginning because that's where it first went off the rails. That moment you guys got activated. This really matters. What do you think you said or did that really set her off? A lot of times, guys aren't thinking about this at all, and they're just charging headfirst into this with their own narrative. They want to be seen, they want to be validated. No, you don't understand what I meant or why I was doing that. Listen, I get it. You want to get to that at some point. But if you want to be a real relational master, a black belt, you have to understand how this all works. Both of you trying to be heard and understood and validated at the same time doesn't work. At least it doesn't work if you haven't had a lot of practice. Jenny and I can do this dance pretty well. We can say, yeah, I see your point on that. It makes sense. Can you see why I was looking at it this way? And she can say, yeah, that does make sense. But even we have to slow down sometimes and say, hey, this is moving a bit too fast. Let me first try understanding you, and then we'll switch to me. But if you're newer to this, you probably need to start there. And so I want to tell you what you can do on your side in virtually every situation to start making progress. The idea here is that you will get heard too, but you will have to set your stuff aside at first if you want to practice relational leadership. So here's how it goes. The moment you notice your partner feel triggered, activated by something you're saying or doing, I want you to pause and gently call attention to what just happened. Hey, I noticed when I made that comment, something changed for you. Is that true? Am I getting that right? And then step back and listen. Don't defend, don't assess, don't rationalize, just listen. And no matter what comes back at you, roll with it. Don't try to steer the conversation to what you want to talk about. Just stay with her. If she catches it and says something like, I felt like you were judging me, or interrogating me, or trying to be right, I want you to work as hard as you can to see her side. So your response will be something like, yeah, I can see the way that I was asking those questions. That might have been off-putting. Or, yeah, there is a little bit of judgment here. Thanks for catching that. Or if you're really having trouble making the connection, just say, hey, I want to understand this and I'm not yet. Can you tell me more? Why did it feel that way for you? And don't make it a game of gotcha. Like you need to tell me specifically, clearly, exactly what I did and exactly why that upsets you. Remain open and curious because the reality is she might not even know, but you're engaging in a collaborative effort to better understand. So lower your guard, surrender to this process, and do everything you can to stay engaged, grounded, and loving. Now, this part is pretty fun for me. I will do these mock conflicts with some of my clients. So a good portion of the time, they'll have an objection. The first one is usually that wouldn't work for her. And I'm like, dude, fucking try it. What you're doing isn't working, obviously. And I doubt you've tried it exactly in the way that I'm doing it, because if you could do this consistently, it wouldn't be such a problem all the time. You wouldn't be continually getting the feedback that you're defensive or avoidant or not attuned. So relax, try it. Just because I give you a black belt move doesn't mean you're going to be able to do it perfectly if you're a white belt, but you can make a lot of progress quickly if you continue to practice. Okay, that's the first objection. It wouldn't work. The second objection is usually, but what if she says or does this? And I say, great. If she says or does this, here's what I would suggest doing. And it's basically the same thing aside from some nuance in the context. So one example would be that something happens in the present, but then the past gets brought up. Ooh, the past. I don't know why we're so scared of the past. She brings up this thing that happened 7 years ago, almost like it's taboo to talk about that. We should have moved past it. Why can't we get over it? I can promise you that being resistant to talking about the past is going to create more problems for you. So again, here's how you roll with that. If she brings up something from the past that you did or didn't do or said, just acknowledge it. Don't resist. It could sound something like, yeah, I know that that was a really tough time for you and I didn't show up in the way you needed me to. It makes sense that that still comes up sometimes. I'm open to hearing more about that. And if she says something like, no, you just don't get it. I don't think you'll ever get it. You can work with that too. Honey, I hear you. I know there's a chance I may never get it, but I want to keep working to understand you. I want to figure this out. And it can even help to throw some vulnerability in there. I actually feel pretty sad as we talk about this. I regret some of my shortcomings. I imagine you feel sad too and mad. This brings you into the space of the we. How is the we doing? It's pretty easy to fight when both of you are in an I mindset. It's easier to get into fights because it doesn't seem like you're on the same team. Oftentimes, it only takes one of you to step into the we, the us, in order for things to shift. And one of you stepping into that space lends an invitation to the other to step into it too. So bottom line, you can work with pretty much anything your wife says or does, as long as she's not physically attacking you or verbally assaulting you. And when I say verbal assault, I mean the more hardcore stuff, not just how it feels. If she's calling you names, saying you're a piece of shit, you're a pussy, something like that, I don't want you to try to work with that. She needs to grow up and learn how to talk like an adult. But even stuff like saying you're selfish or you need to step up, those are things we can work with. Yeah, tell me how you see me being selfish here. She might have a case. I use this as an example because we're all selfish on some level. That's how we operate. We're concerned about our needs first. So when our partner judges us for being selfish, we can look into that mindfully because there might be truth to it. We might be in the process of standing up for something we really need, and that can seem selfish to the other. We might also see that there's some compromise there we weren't seeing before, or it's possible that our partner is more right than us. Yeah, I have been acting selfishly. I haven't been considering us. That doesn't mean that you're a bad guy. I was recently talking to a new client, and he was telling me about this experience of coming home from work and just trying to get things done around the house. And his partner was complaining that he was moving things around and doing stuff without consulting her. And his defense was, I'm trying to be productive. So I was like, I get that. And it seems like you're in the mindset where you just do what you want to do when you want to do it, and you're not at all considering your partner. And he was like, yeah, that's fair. And it wasn't working for him. Intention was good. He's a good guy, but he hasn't learned how to collaborate. He didn't understand what might be happening in the emotional space. And then when he dismissed his partner's concerns, don't worry about it, that made her feel more alone. So although this seemed like a really unworkable situation for him, how do I get things done and help my partner be happy? I was like, it's not that complicated, actually. You just have to communicate a little bit more before you do things. I have the luxury of seeing things from an observer's point of view, an informed point of view, so I can point this out to people. But you can do this yourself too. Try stepping back. Imagine just being the most curious, open, skillful listener you could possibly be. That makes sense. I can see why you'd feel that. Tell me more. Energetically surrender temporarily to the process. When you give your partner this gift of clean, clear attention, it's natural for her to want to give it back to you. It doesn't always happen. No skill can 100% fix all relational problems, but there are methods that are going to work better. And I get that it's counterintuitive. As men, we're taught to be strong leaders to make decisions, but we're not taught anything about surrendered leadership. We can still lead by example while not being in the driver's seat all the time, controlling everything that's happening. So if there's one takeaway I want to leave you with, it's that most, if not all, of your relational shortcomings are based on a lack of skill, information, and practice. They're not about who you are as a person. And you don't need to keep doing the same things with the same results and then throwing your hands up in the air. Try it next time you're with your partner. Even if there's not a conflict present, try saying, "Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. What was that like for you?" Women love that. Men love it too. Some pretend that they don't. But I think at our core, we all like this. Attention is another form of love. We want to be understood in the world because the world is a reflection of who we are. And it feels good to have alignment there. The world gets me. People get me. I'm not a weirdo. So, anyways, I hope that was helpful. I recently started doing more Instagram posts. So, if you want to check that out, search Bryce Bauer Coaching. And if you want more info on how to work with me or my wife and I, you can go to www.brycebauer.com. That's all I've got. I'll see you next week.